welcome again, everyone, to Applying Law to Emerging Cyber Dangers. This is the first webinar of 4 over the next 4 weeks to be presented by Brad. By way of introduction, Brad is a former federal agent and was one of the first members of the Australian Federal Police Computer Crime Section in Sydney, where in '95 his team was successful in having the first jail sentence imposed on a computer hacker. He's also a qualified lawyer and non-practicing, focusing on cyber law research with degrees in criminal justice, law and postgraduate studies in criminology and law. Additionally, Bradley has a postgraduate certificate in distance ed, specialising in digital delivery from Penn State University, and a master's in national security with his thesis centred around digital technology, evolving digital technology, terrorist financing and the threat to US national security. He was a keynote speaker at anti-bullying conferences and at schools and community groups, and is passionate about all things in the cyber arena. And you can follow him on Twitter with the Twitter handle at Bradley W Deacon, D-E-A-C-O-N. He's a big fan of Twitter in the classroom, and in fact that's one of the boxes that can be ticked in the course page. It's an interesting video, about 5 minutes long. James will be tech support tonight, and he will also spend a couple of minutes just going through why these short courses are offered and what opportunities there are out of this and further to this through IT Masters and Charles Sturt University. He'll be doing that in place of Sturt University's usual presenter, who some of you may have heard before, as he's not available tonight. So we'll start with James giving his first couple of minutes, and then we'll get into the slides and Brad's live lecture.
Thanks, Guy. G'day, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes, I can. Yep, all good.
So some of you may remember me. I've been on a few of the short courses before. I'm pretty much here tonight just to be tech support, essentially. I do a lot of the IT stuff at IT Masters. I sort of am responsible for the learn.itmasters.edu.au site, which is a learning management system. It's running Moodle, a great open source software that some of you might be familiar with. I'm here in an IT support sort of role tonight as well, just in case anyone does have any problems. If either of our presenters have a problem with using the tool, with the GoToWebinar tool, or if any of you out there have any troubles, just type something into the question box and I'll try to help you out. If you have any questions ongoing as well using the learn.itmasters site throughout the 4 weeks, please feel free to contact me directly, or you can just post on the forums, and whatever we'll help out however we can. I'm wearing 2 hats tonight. I'm here as an IT person, in technical support role, but I'm also here, like Guy said, filling in for Jason. So yeah, I got a pretty big head, so not literal hats. Metaphorical hat of I'm just going to very, very quickly tell you who IT Masters is, who CSU is, who they are, sorry, that's Charles Sturt University. Just really, really quickly, I want to tell you why we're doing these, why we run these short courses. I know personally when I get something for free, I like to know why. It's always good. So IT Masters and CSU have been partnered together for about 14 years. IT Masters is a training organisation that was set up and runs expressly for the purpose of partnering with CSU for delivering some of their courses. We run a full suite of master's degree courses with CSU. We sort of help create them with a real industry focus, and to run them and to also market them. Often seen as a bit of an evil term, but I think really the best way to market something, the most valid and honest way to market something, or at least I certainly hope, is to give something for free. And you give something and people can decide, are these guys good at this? So that's what these short courses are. We kind of take 4 great weeks of content out of usually a 12-week subject. Brad runs a 12-week subject called Cyber Law. Is it 12 weeks, Brad?
Yes, it's 12 weeks. Yeah.
But it's not just, we don't stop in the middle. This is a real solid unit of work, these 4 weeks. It It doesn't just cut off. We don't want you going, oh, no, we need more. We just sign up for a master's. You come along and you learn. We really want you to learn something great, engage with your fellow students, pass the exam again at the end and get a certificate of achievement. We really want you to get something out of this, and that's all there is to it. It's a win-win, great thing to do. We love running these short courses. Hopefully you go away and just think, oh, Charles Sturt, they're pretty good. They know what they're doing. Maybe one day you want to do a master's degree and you come to us. Maybe you don't, and that's fine. So I'll leave it at that. I really want to get on with this great class that Brad's going to be teaching tonight. If anyone wants to know any more about our programs, how they work, Jason Howarth, who's the course coordinator at CSU, he's going to be along next week, and he's actually going to talk a bit more at length, but right at the end of the class. So after the class has happened, you won't have to stick around, but I'm aware that quite a lot of people are interested, which we're really glad about. So yeah, I'll let it put it back to Brad now. Thank you.
All right, yeah, terrific, Guy and James, and look, thanks for the introduction and covering off of some of the general housekeeping, and I'll go through the key ones shortly. Look, welcome everybody to Applying Law to Emerging Cyber Dangers. It's great to see so many people. In fact, we have over 2,000 enrolled. Last time I checked, it was about 2,052 students enrolled. Please tell your friends about this course. Share it on your social media, and we'll talk about that shortly. In fact, you can win an ebook worth $120 from LexisNexis, and I'll go over that a bit later on. So we've got people from around the world. Look, don't look at this as just study. Look at it as an absolutely fantastic networking opportunity, right? You've got over 2,000 people. I've seen the intros there and the bios. Please make sure that you fill it in. And I'll slide down, it's this discussion forum here where you see my mouse going over. If you click on that, just a quick intro about yourself. We've only got about 70 or 80 there so far out of the 2,000, but it'd be good. And again, you can keep a bit of anonymity. You don't have to say where or who you work for, but just a bit of background would be fantastic if you're worried about security roles that you're doing. The more you guys put into it together and girls put in it together, the more you'll get out of it. I'll give you some background just before we get into the nitty-gritty of how I come about designing this course. IT Masters had this great unit called Cyber Law, and I've run it for the last 2 summers, and it gave me an opportunity with the actual Masters unit to listen to the students, which I do intently, and I try to analyse. I'm a bit of a visionary. I like to see what's going to be the next trend or what's happening in the future with regards to anything that I do, and try and look at where everything's going. And the feedback I was getting from students is that they're all working in the industry, which is fantastic, and most of you are, but it's the frustration that a lot seem to have with senior management, CSOs, CISOs, IT security managers and the like that are up the chain, that they're trying to get them to give them more resources to tackle the ever-increasing problem of cyber threats. And I like to turn a negative into a positive on everything that I do. Any opportunity that I get, I like to turn the negative into a positive. So I saw a need for a different approach, one where the IT security industry needed to move forward in the future by tackling the issues from a different angle, right? You've got this issue, they're not listening to you. You need to say, okay, let's make them listen, you know, in a way that you'll get an argument across the table. So law enforcement are suffering with lack of resources, combined with having a hard time retaining excellent personnel. The law in itself is definitely not keeping up with technology, and we all know that. So when law enforcement can't retain excellent personnel and they're training new cyber experts only to lose them to corporates who pay a lot more, so it's very frustrating for them. So they're now being very selective on the items that they investigate, and that's because of the legislation, or that there's other agencies that they can refer you to. And also you've got your digital forensic experts that can be called in as well now for the big companies. But that's all right for the big companies. But when you've got the small ones that have been attacked and everything else, there is an issue. That a crime has occurred. It's gathering that evidence and putting that evidence together and take it to the police. I had a long-term stalking incident. I represented several people in court, and basically I had to go to the police station with what I used to call in the police force a brief of evidence. So I basically put it all together and took it to the police station. Then their problem is it's the lack of resources. If they seize devices, getting them analysed by the forensics department, the computer crime sections and units and whatever they call themselves now, to actually analyse the devices or desktops, right? There is a backlog. And then you've got the problem of the investigating detective not trained up in what to do. So what I thought, okay, we've got this issue. Why not have something where I can go through a live scenario in this over the 4 weeks or 5 weeks, but 4 weeks we'll be doing a scenario, and everyone in the room here will be assigned groups, and you work in your groups in a discussion forum and answer the homework questions and do some dot point answers and try and come up with a solution, identify the suspects. So I'm trying to make it, you're also the cyber sleuth. So you're looking at the solutions and how you solve the issue. You're looking at the legislation. You're looking at how to package up material to give to your supervisors to say, look, this is what we need to produce to have the police to take this on board. The more professional you package everything up and either send it off to the digital forensics company, which will save you a lot of money, and or the police, the more chance you have of solving what the cyber attack was. So over time, I put this together, and I want to go through some learning outcomes on top of the ones we'll go over each week for individual weeks. So basically, I want you to take away from this. You don't need to write this down. The learning outcomes are in the slides shortly that I'm going to pull up on the screen. But I need you to take away from this. You need to be able to analyse an incident and identify that not only has an incident taken place, but a law that has actually been broken. And so I need you to align that, the incident with the law that's been broken. What key steps you need to take to not only prevent further damage, but to capture and preserve the evidence for the experts, be it digital forensic experts and or the police. What hurdles do the police face with regards to cyber incidents, in particular when it comes to overseas-based offenders, and how it's important to appreciate what they need to obtain the evidence. How police agencies around the globe are under-resourced and where digital forensic teams can step in. What is involved in a brief of evidence? Simply put, what a prosecutor works with that's usually been provided by the police or even digital forensic investigators or other government investigators as well. And most of all, to network with your peers, learn from each other in your teams and bounce ideas of each other in your discussion forums and come up with some dot point solutions and best practices for the scenario. Later in the course, probably week 3 or 4, most likely week 4. Now, this can change, but he's very reliable, but he is operational as a forensic psychologist and cyber profiler. If he can't make it, we'll record it, definitely, without a doubt. But I'll be introducing a cyber profiler, and he'll be coming in and just shedding some light on what he does in forensic psychology. He was involved in the Julian Night, a mass shooter we had here back in Australia probably 20 odd years ago, 25 odd years ago, and he was involved in the debrief of Julian Night. He's an excellent forensic psychologist, and it'll be a great evening. So either week 3 or week 4, we'll have the forensic psychologist with cyber profiling. I believe adding that angle by starting to use cyber profilers, by looking at how to package up the evidence, you'll be able to perform your work duties a lot better and present to your management a better way to look at the issues that you are facing and hopefully solve the attack, and also get law enforcement to listen, or whatever investigative agency that you refer it to. Now, social media plays a big part of this. Now, the reason is I go to lecture theatres with 150 people or so sometimes, and I've been in a room and they look at me silly, go, oh my God, what's this guy? You know, he's ex-AFP, he's former counter-terrorism unit for a couple of years, and this guy's on Pinterest, right? And this guy's on Twitter. What's the go? Well, it works, right? It's efficient, it's immediate, and it's effective and gets out to a wide audience. But even now, you should really know about social media. Threats are coming from social media. I won't go into it now, but open source intelligence, look at my blog on open source intelligence on LinkedIn under one of my blog posts. It is a massive area, and there's software now that companies are using to see who's talking about their company, who's making threats about it, who's demonstrating down the street in relation to that company, so they can take the necessary risk management procedures to keep their staff safe. So if you know how social media works, you can also brief the powers to be to say, look, trending hashtag at the moment is our company, and there's demonstrators, you know, 4 blocks away about to surround this building. So it is a thing of the future, forewarning, and realistically, you should know about it. I'm amazed at the street cops that really just don't get social media. Now, it's not their fault. They haven't been trained in it. They've got so much to learn in so many weeks. But realistically, you saw the riots here in Melbourne on the news, most likely in Sydney. Social media played a massive role. If they were monitoring the open source intelligence on that, they would have picked up the intel on that a lot earlier and been a lot more prepared. So I do use it, and there's a reason. And also by using Twitter, you don't have to use your real name. Just register in Mickey Mouse or whatever you want to call yourself. But that allows you to log into the Blab after this session for the Q&A. So we'll start that about 15 minutes after tonight. So you've got all obviously the background here that you've got to do, and tick the little boxes. As Guy said before, you've got the discussion forum here to give your bio. The pre-reading with Kim.com, as I said before, you do not need to read the 279 pages in detail. It's there to just give you an appreciation of what transpires with regards to an extradition and how much work's involved with mutual assistance legislation and extradition from a person from another country back to the United States. See, a lot of cyber attacks, and that's why I designed the course this way, a lot of cyber attacks happen internationally, of course, as you're aware. So obviously you're going to have to involve international law enforcement, or the police will anyway, and that's why you need to be aware of what hurdles they face with mutual assistance, how long it can take, and how much paperwork, etc. is involved. So you go through that. Again, Twitter experiment, please watch that video, it's excellent. It shows you how you use it in a class with a hashtag, and it'd be great that people can use Cyber Evidence 2016 in the tweet. When you find an article, share the URL and just type Cyber Evidence 2016 with the hashtag. You can all search that hashtag in a couple of weeks, and then you'll see everybody's links to various articles. The reason I like it, I'm waiting for a coffee, I'm on the tram, on the train, I read an article on my smartphone or tablet, and I go, geez, I could share that, and I'll put that on Twitter. So there's my Twitter handle. Please feel free to follow me. Pinterest is another thing. Just click that. You'll go to my page, and when you do get to Pinterest, you'll see I've set up a subject board. So it's just like a pin board, and again, I put interesting articles I see because I can do it instantaneously from my smartphone. I share it to the Cyber Law Short Course board. So once you do that, you can start seeing a compilation of research material. And again, I'm just demonstrating. You'll see on my board in Pinterest, I've got laws of evidence, I've got cyber law, I've got intellectual property law. So I start building all my different subjects on there, and it's a fantastic. There's a video here of how to use it. Here, shortly at the end, we'll go back to this, the live Q&A blab, right? And it will start at about 10 minutes at the end of this, which is fantastic. It's a great thing to use, and again, it's an experiment for us. My digital newspaper is there each morning at 5 o'clock. I publish that. I'll go over that next week once you have a chance to look at it. It was set and forget. It took me 90 minutes to set up 3 years ago, and it just feeds great digital content about anything digital automatically every morning at 5 o'clock. Again, another great platform. And those that want to talk outside of the class about social media, feel free, once we finish everything, to talk about it, and I'll give you some tips on how to create your own newspaper and everything else as well, because I find it fantastic, and it's free, which is even better. I just want to touch on this because it's important, and then we're going to kickstart the week one. The competition where you can win this great book. I'll open up the link now just so you can see it. Very straightforward. It's all about sharing in social media. That's the book that you're all up to in for, Cybercrime Legislation Cases and Commentary. The ebook version, it's worth $120, which is fantastic. And I'll just go back. Whoops. Just lost my screen. Where'd it go? Sorry guys, this happens. Okay, good stuff. All right, so that's the book that everyone can get their hands on. All you have to do is the photo sharing competition is click this link to get the rules and how easy it is to do. And here we go. So capture your favourite study location, as you see here. Of course, I didn't take that picture. I wouldn't be here now if that was my study location. I'd be beaming straight from there. Hashtag CyberLaw short course is what you use. Share that on your social media. Again, make sure you include that hashtag. The most likes or shares, right, so count them up, wins this ebook. So basically what you do is you share it. All proof of likes and that must be submitted by 5 p.m. 10th of April, and I'll have a campaign link for you to do that closer to the date with your screenshot. You count them up. I will check, but you count them up and tell me you've had 350 shares, and one of the most will win the ebook. You must be enrolled in the course to win it. Here's an example of my Instagram at my local coffee shop. I've got a nice bowl of muesli, my iPad on a Mophie stand, my law book here, and coffee's just out of the picture, and I've shared that with the hashtag CyberLaw short course, as you can see, along with other things as well. So do that, be creative, capture your favourite online study and share it away. I'd love to give that book away and we'll see how it goes. All right, so week one. The emerging cyber law dangers. We're going to kick into the materials now for the next 30 or so minutes here, and we will get underway. Right, so we're going to look at, hopefully you've done some pre-reading with the Bring Your Own Device, the Internet of Things, and state-supported hacking, including rogue states and live running scenario. And goodness, my LinkedIn's going crazy, which is fantastic. People are asking to join. That's feel free to. That's fine. So the week one study guide is what we're going to do here is have a look at. We're looking at the emerging cyber dangers with Bring Your Own Devices and the policy shift, Internet of Things, state-supported hacking, and we'll go over the running scenario. So we've got to make sure that we keep up to date with the range of emerging threats. That is one of the biggest problems, and when I get into the PowerPoint shortly, you'll be astounded at the amount of people that are not aware of what IoT stands for, and that is scary, right? And state-supported hacking, especially with information that I saw in open source, was that China allegedly has 50,000 people on the payroll who are paid to hack. Right now, a lot is not to cause damage to companies. It's like overtly. It's basically to have a look, what's your profit and loss, what's your secrets, how your designs are, and everything else. So they can sit there and look at everything, and then either they can cause a disruption to your plans or technology, or they can just simply leave unbeknownst to you and set up a competing business per se. So we're going to have a look at that. we're going to have interactive activities, so whereby you are the cyber sleuth with our scenario. And look, you've got to understand here, we've got to pitch this at all the varying levels. There's people that are thinking about getting into this space and working in this space, and there's a lot of you that are very, very advanced in this space as well. But I think at all levels you will learn and learn from each other. I must profess I am not an IT security person as in hands-on. I more look at the legislation and ways of how to get persuasive reports written, so the power brokers will give you the resources and everything else to get the job done, and hopefully teach you some methods in achieving that in the workplace. So I'll be learning from you. You'll be throwing in solutions as I keep writing this scenario, as I drip feed more information into it over the weeks. You will see, and you'll come up with answers and great responses, I've got no doubt. I'll be learning from all of you with the technical side of things. So I must reinforce that I'm not a cyber security person. So we've done the photo, we're into IT, we've done the study guide, the webinar. Let's get into the slides now. And as you can see here, we've got all these things. A day made of glass, fantastic to watch. I'll go over these briefly. I won't open them, of course. I would just sit down for an hour or two on a Saturday and just go through this material, or a Sunday, and have a glass of wine or whatever in hand and just relax and go through it. So we'll now kick into the webinar slides. And hopefully, yep.
Sorry, Brad, just while we're getting into the slides, we have a question from Norman. The photo competition, is that for any social media or just specifically Twitter?
No, Instagram, Facebook, wherever they get the most likes on their picture. It can be any social media, as long as they screen grab their total of likes and shares, and then I'll have a file upload for them to send it with a tally of how many they've had. But by all means, share it across all social media. I find quirky is good, right? Quirky in a good location really works. So now I'm going to just open this up. Okay.
Be safe though, folks. Nothing crazy.
But yeah. Nothing crazy, please. And be respectful of everybody. But you can have some real fun with it. I've used it at another university, and it's the class group have a really good bit of fun with it. All right. So applying law to emerging cyber dangers, collecting and presenting electronic evidence. The short course, right? We're going to look again at the emerging cyber dangers, how best to collect, preserve and present the evidence to law enforcement for criminal action and or lawyers for civil litigation, and also to digital forensic firms, because police aren't taking on board everything because of their resources. Look at the emerging threats, BYOD, it's a massive problem, and the Internet of Things. International cooperation legislation applicable for international cyber attacks, such as mutual assistance and extradition acts. And we're going to be running a live international scenario, which I'll go through shortly. And hopefully you guys will come up, and girls will come up with a great solution. As you heard there's my background. Of course, I'm not practicing at the moment. I'm focusing on education, but I am a qualified lawyer admitted into the High Court and Supreme Court of Victoria in 2008. My Twitter's there, my email. Okay, so how the scenario works, it's basically, we'll read the background shortly. Each session is designed to inform you of the relevant law, case studies and information to assist your cyber sleuthing, and each week's homework will build up to a final solution. It's no major essay or anything like that, it's just some dot points, and I'll collate each group's key findings and have a summary, and at the end I'll come up with a solution as well for you to learn from. So there's no major essay or anything like that. So week one will be emerging cyber dangers. We're going to look at the content of the BYOD, which I've put up on there on the system, the Internet of Things, the state-supported hacking. I've put up some great videos in relation to that. And scenario, I'll give you some information. And applicable to it will be, do you identify in the scenario any BYOD issues, identify any IoT issues, and any suspects and what jurisdictions they're living in. Are any countries behind the incident? And don't forget, further information can come out in week 2 and 3. So, and then we'll review the webinar and join in a live Q&A. Sorry, we're going to do the webinar, or you're going to review it if you can't attend, and join in a live Q&A if you'd like to. Just turn off my phone. Okay.
While you're at it, Brad, is there a way you can... Sorry, Brad.
Yep.
While you're at it, is there a way you can make it a full screen slideshow?
Let's have a look. How's that? How's that?
That's great. Thanks.
Yep. All right. Good. Week 2, the content will be collecting and preserving the evidence for criminal prosecution and civil litigation, maintaining electronic evidence integrity. That is critical. Keeping the integrity. Always seek advice if you have an incident from the experts. Is it a criminal or civil referral? And again, I'll give you more information. So we're going to try and identify what sections in week 2 after the webinar, what legislation might have been breached, list what evidence of the breach of IT security at net pages you would be gathering for the police and or lawyers to consider, and the relevance of the evidence. What steps would you take to maintain, preserve the integrity of the electronic evidence you have identified? Identified if a criminal or civil action referral is the best option. How do you see the dark web and deep net making a cyber investigations complex on an international basis? Those that don't know about the dark net or deep net, dark web and deep net, please go to my LinkedIn and look at my blog that I've written on that. Feel free to have a look at that. It gives you a basic overview in real simplistic terms, and contribute to the forum post. So week 3 is all about mutual assistance. We're going to look at the central authority. A central authority is the Attorney General's Department. It's just like the central spot where everybody goes to. And we're going to look at that in week 3 in more detail. So in our country, it's the Commonwealth Attorney General's Department, and they're called central authorities around the world. We'll look at the mutual assistance legislation, look at the AFP International Liaison Network. It's probably one of the best international liaison networks in the world, and they've got it down pat. I think probably the Canadian Mounties would be second. Worked in Hong Kong, the United States, on investigations, and New Zealand, and I'd say our AFP International Network has forged some fantastic relationships. Bali is where it really come forward when the bomb went off. How we had people on the ground within so many hours, and that was thanks to their efforts. We're going to look at the police-to-police protocols. That's open source information again on the Attorney General's Department, so I'm not talking out of school. All right, the Attorney General say how police can get information on police to police, but that is intelligence. So we'll look at the difference between evidence gathering and intelligence gathering. We'll look at the Extradition Act, and of course more information for the feed. And again, I go across to the application to the cyber incident. I'll let you read these in your own time, because there's quite a bit to get through tonight. So again, just go back to this for each week. The first week's great slides to go through just to give you an overview. Week 4 content, referring it to the AFP and or digital forensic teams, presenting evidence in accordance with the DPP's prosecution guidelines. I think when you look at this great material that they've presented and packaged up online, and it's fantastic. It's like a checklist. You just go, well, geez, the police need statements. They need affidavits, per se. They need to preserve the evidence. It's got to be continuity of the evidence. How is it stored? Who's had access to it? All of that material is going to be packaged up in what they call a brief of evidence. And I think if you have an appreciation of that, you'll see how much work is involved. They do a summary of facts. So, this is where your notes come in handy. So when they do get a detailed statement from you, or affidavit, or the forensic examiners do, the more information you can give them in chronological order, the better. So by appreciating what the prosecutors are looking for, you as IT experts and IT personnel can really collate a lot of the material that's going to make their job a lot easier, and also, hopefully, when you package everything up, get them to take the investigation on. Week 5 is the final exam and final scenario submissions. So basically you just polish off all your, in week 4, all your forum posts and complete the online exam. Now it's online, multiple choice and true false, and we've got those each week as well, so they're not too hard. It's basically just that you've attended, you've absorbed some of the key points, and that is fantastic. All right, so emerging cyber dangers. So we covered that before in the slide. So BYOD, now again, this is at all levels, but just take in the key points. It's also known as bring your own technology, and it's a policy that allows obviously employees and students to bring their own devices. So years ago, the government here in Victoria said, oh, we're going to provide students with computers and all that. They had control, and as you would in the workplace, if you supply devices to your staff. Then all of a sudden the government changed their mind and said, no, we can't afford that. It's all BYOD now, and so did companies, right? So they used to be behind technology innovation and trends. Now it's consumers with the BYOD. So they couldn't keep up supplying everybody with all the technology, but the actual employees could. So there was a proliferation of smartphones, tablets, and wearable technology has increased the amount of devices that's coming into your workplace, right? And the pros of that is increased productivity in the workplace, increased morale, the feeling of controlling your own data, cost savings for the company, staff can do more at home with their own device, and staff familiarity with their own device. The downfall is you do lose control. The security issues, end node issues especially, so the end node issue is a big thing. Inability to track activity on social media sites in work time. I couldn't believe I walked up in New York City behind an NYPD officer. They're at a high threat level. He's opposite Central Park. I've walked up on the road behind him, and he's sitting in his driver's seat while the car was stationary, and he's on Facebook. I just couldn't believe it. You know, like head down, high threat alert, and I could have been anybody. And of course, recently, as we know, 2 New York police officers got shot dead in their car for not paying attention. So again, we can't track staff on it, and there is some software now, and I'll raise that next week, that we've discovered that you can use to keep productivity up in the workplace, and we'll go over that next week. If the phone is lost, your data may be compromised. Company apps and data may be on the phone when the employee leaves, so they might have material on there when they go, and malware threats if the device connects to the network. A healthcare snapshot, you would have seen recently there was some ransomware with regards to BYOD, and Cisco says that 90% of Americans in healthcare industry use a BYOD to order tests, alter medical records, send emails, and access organisation files. 40% lack the basic password protection. 50% have accessed the internet via an unsecure Wi-Fi connection. So when we read out the scenario shortly, and I'll go through that in a few minutes, you will see that the IoT could be, and BYOD could be a threat. So look, you really need to educate mobile device users, and I mean really educate them. I think you need to dumb it down a bit. I think we get too technical when we try and talk to staff en masse in an organisation. We need to really reinforce the stronger passwords, install current security patches internally and on mobile devices, develop a security conscious BYOD policy. Make sure it's really robust security conscious policy. Effective BYOD governance. Everyone must be on the same page. Compliance has to be mandatory. Just give them highlights of where the issues have raised in the past, where Ashley Madison was allegedly someone who was a contractor getting into the organisation and obviously doing no good through that way. So where a BYOD device, you know, that someone in the organisation could be malicious, right? It must be mandatory. Ensure everyone's aware of the device's GPS, video and audio features and how they can be compromised. I've just found another great video that I hope to get up this week, and I think I've got it on my Pinterest board, in relation to how a guy went to a hackfest, and he was known, he knew the guy, and he was hacked, and basically from when he left home, in the hotel, on the aeroplane, everywhere he went, he was being recorded and everything else. So we need to make staff aware of that. Develop a loss, theft of device and staff departure exit strategy for wiping the data. The threat management, of course, starts with data wiping policy, containerizing the data on a device, and that you can wipe it remotely. Encrypt data on devices, include immediate loss, BYOD reporting guidelines. Make sure they tell you immediately, not 5 hours later or 10 hours later. Have a 24-hour number available for them. Again, educate the users, the stronger passwords. We've gone through all of these. Just gone the wrong way. Stealth technology is another one. Look, there's plenty of these on the market. Unisys new stealth technology is a prime example. I'll just fly through this, go through these in your own time. Look at these things. You're probably engaging some of these already in the workplace. And again, look at their stealth mobile packages, the key features of stealth there. It's all there for you to go through. We definitely need to get through all of this, but you can call back to this, right? It is a good system, but again, there's a lot out there that you can look into. I want to play this video because I love this. I think if you're going to do a presentation to the powers to be, you need to really get the message across with something like this, and I think this guy does it well, and he's got a whole series of videos. It's only a short one.
This episode of Shots of Awe is brought to you by Norton. So one of the next big tech revolutions that everybody's talking about these days is the notion of the Internet of Things. Revolution that everybody's talking about these days is the notion of the Internet of Things. See, now that we are extending intelligent sensors into everything,
Hi, Brad.
into
It's
the world of
James
everyday objects,
I think we might have to
might
might have to can this one, unfortunately. Even when it's not buffering, it's just coming through a bit too slowly on this end. Is it alright if we get students to watch this one afterwards?
Yep, I'll just... Alright, that's a little technical glitch there. Look, make sure this guy will blow you away with his presentation. He really drives home the Internet of Things, and I'm just trying to get the slides back up. Here we go, here. Alright, he really does drive it home, so, yep.
Sorry, Brad, what was his name? I'll look him up and post the link in the chat room.
It's on the system.
Okay, great.
Yeah, no. We've got the link. Stand by. Oh, sorry, it's in the slide. Yeah, in the week 1 webinar slides. When they're in the slides, you'll get it there. So shots of awe, SHOTS, shots of awe, AWE. But it's in the slides, as you can see here. The link is embedded. All right, so when you look at his presentation, you will see that he really drives home the message, and I think that's a great opener if you're doing a presentation in the workplace about Internet of Things. It's a real wake-up call to people, because when you have a look at this, 87% of people haven't heard of the Internet of Things, right? And as we know, it's devices that collect and transmit data via the Internet. So ATMs, I didn't know this, were some of the first Internet of Things back in 1974. When you think about it, of course they were. So the global wearable device market has grown 223%, they say, in 2015. As you can see the numbers there. And have a look at this. According to some estimates, IoT will add 10 to 15 trillion to global GDP. So we really need to grasp this. We need to look at the security side of things, and we need to look at everything else in relation to the Internet of Things. All right, as we know, it's IoT, and it's connecting devices, washing machines, coffee pots, headphones, lamps, wearable devices, anything you can think of. You know, you're going to have a section, you know, might have the marketing section and say, oh, look, we run staff lunches and staff meals, and we've just installed this new refrigerator up in the staff room that's going to order our groceries to Coles Direct automatically. It's going to measure what's taken out of the refrigerator, you know, and they're just going to plug that in willy-nilly without even consulting you, because it's not a computer, is it? So you need to be on top of this. You need to show your management. You need to say, hey, marketing department on level 15, what are you doing? What's this coffee pot that's, you know, this latest trendy device that will order new coffee pods from the coffee supplier? So it's endless of what it could be, but we need to get everybody aware of it. Ramifications globally, it's behind smart cities, endless opportunities, as I said before, and even where they had it, to make a smart meter technology to read your power meters, right? Not immune to hacking. We've got TVs, cash machines, to malware-infected high-risk pregnancy monitors in Boston. Just Google that, where high-risk pregnancy monitors in Boston were hacked. Europol warns that IoT creates a new type of risk that threats not only consumer applications, critical infrastructure. I wrote another blog in LinkedIn again on, will 2016 be the first homicide via IoT? So have a look at my LinkedIn in relation to that. Will 2016 be the first homicide through IoT? Now they're saying pacemakers are very vulnerable to being hacked. So you imagine if someone's got the power to turn off a person's pacemaker while they're asleep, right? And things like that. Ransomware on smart cards and homes. And again, we've had ransomware in the last couple of weeks at hospitals. So the three challenges are, the trillion points of vulnerability, and then we know that one link can ruin your day. Trust and data integrity is an issue. And again, you're getting bombarded with sections in your organisations connecting up. Photocopier machine that will talk back to Toshiba or wherever to say you're out of toner. Data collection, protection and privacy is another issue. All right. State-supported hacking. Look, it's well known. Please go through the material that I've put up there. China, as we said, is IP, you know, intellectual property, cyber exploitation to get that competitive edge. Israel wants to stay ahead of its adversaries. Russia, Iran, North Korea, their own motivations, the United States, everybody's into it. We need to be aware. It's not just your hackers that are just, you know, people that are out there maliciously. It's also state-supported, state being a country. All right, so your homework is basically in the scenario which I'm about to read is to identify any BYOD issues, identify any IoT issues in the scenario, and again, just dot point and decide who may be a suspect in the investigation and what jurisdiction are they living in, so what country are they living in, and at this stage of the information, are there any countries behind it? So that's all your homework, plus a little short quiz, I think, of 5 questions. So it's not that onerous on you to do that, and hopefully you'll be fine contributing to the discussion forum in your groups. You'll be allocated to your groups. I think there's about 200 or so per group, so you can all jump on board and do that. So you've got all the readings in that here that you can just go through in your own time, which is great. Your homework's reinforced here. Now let's get into the scenario. So I'll just open it up. And then I can do a couple of questions here, but we can go to the blab.
Hey Brad, it's James here. Just quickly, I think with regards to the scenario, I think we were looking at the item just above that where a lot of the information from the wiki was copied into a static page for the sake of the week 1 scenario, yeah. Or has that been edited since?
Yep, stand by. This
Just
year?
the one that says scenario. No, there's just a page item that says scenario rather than live running cyber scenario.
Okay. That's why I didn't have that. Okay. Where is the... Oh, here we go. Scenario. Beautiful. All right. Okay. I'll just quickly read through this, and then we'll break away to the... we'll wrap up, and then the breakaway to the Blab if you want to participate in a quick Q&A and see what Blab's all about. So you are John Daylight, and you're working as an IT security manager for a large Australian online book publishing company called NetPages Pty Limited. It's based in Melbourne, has offices in London, Washington DC, Auckland, Dubai and Mumbai. NetPages has revolutionised book publishing. Similar to Netflix, it has secured some outstanding rights to a range of books that are only available to subscribers of NetPages. One book title on NetPages, Game of Thrones by Jane Doe, who writes under the pseudonym Elizabeth Doe, sold 10 million copies online at USD 19.95 in 2015. Expected her sequel, Games of Chrome, will sell for in excess of 20 million copies at NetPages, and they've thrown a massive marketing budget behind it because pre-registrations have exceeded 15 million with deposits placed. Security is tight at NetPages, and their preferred cloud storage facility is Blue Cloud, a well-known cloud facility that is regarded in the industry as being the most secure. However, Jane Doe is approaching her 70th birthday. She's not a big fan of technology and does not have a mobile cell phone. She only has a landline phone at her farmhouse located on the water at Lake Ngambia in Victoria, Australia. NetPages has a strict no BYOD policy and supplies all staff and authors Apple mobile phones and Apple desktops and laptops. By doing so, NetPages can monitor activity on all devices as all staff and authors sign an agreement to have their devices forensically examined every month. They are really paranoid about IT security. IT security is the management's front of mind. However, no one at the company will dare upset Jane Doe, as she is far the biggest seller in the company and one who's going from strength to strength. Jane Doe has told management at NetPages she will never own a mobile phone or Apple product, and she will take her books elsewhere if they try to force one on her or examine her computer. Given that Jane Doe has always demonstrated herself to be a very honest person with high moral values, NetPages has reluctantly agreed to let Jane Doe buy her own device and not adhere to their Blue Cloud uploads. Jane recently purchased a receiver laptop and connected to the internet with some help from her son, Tom Doe, through local ISP, Bluefire ISP. The reason Jane Doe wanted to start sending drafts to NetPages via email was because she's getting tired of the 3-hour train trip each way to hand over updates of her draft. Games of Chrome's too. Jane Doe used to take copies of her draft on a USB stick encased in a rubber waterproof case that she wore around her neck at all times, and every Monday she would take the train trip to NetPages to upload her latest work. Once it was uploaded by the NetPages IT manager, Jane would be handed a new USB stick. Jane was happy with this, really paranoid of someone breaking in and stealing her laptop, and she refused to upload drafts to the cloud, as she simply does not trust cloud technology and was looking forward to being able to email copies instead of taking the long train trip each way. Whilst NetPages senior executives do anything to keep their number one author happy, they have never been happy with how she does this and how the books and how Jane does not have a mobile phone. So NetPages embraces technology as an online-focused company and predominantly uses the most up-to-date triple encrypted video call program, Look at Moi. Jane Doe's refusal to adhere to their requirements threatens their security. However, whilst the executives are a little happier with Jane Doe finally connecting to the internet, they still have to use the traditional Office PABX system because that's one thing they haven't updated, to call her at her farm on the landline, and they are concerned that she's not only use a Yahoo email account, Jane Doe GOT at yahoo.com for emails and not a secure NetPages email account. Tom Doe is good friends with the owner of Blue Flyer, ISP Zhang San, who is originally from Hong Kong and is currently in Australia on a permanent residency visa. Tom told his mother that Zhang San is a whiz with computers and suggested that Jane Doe should store a copy of her drafts with Blue Flyer by emailing Zhang San an updated draft at the end of each day. Tom persuades the mother to Zhang San to email daily updates, as he tells her that Zhang San says he has friends in London who say NetPages are in financial difficulty. So NetPages should not be trusted, and Zhang San has a copy at his office. He can retrieve it if NetPages close down, and then have it published straight away by NetPages' arch rival, Bookify. Every day without fail, at 11 PM, she would email copies of her updates to NetPages, as you can see there. On February the 1st, Jane emailed her last copies to both NetPages and Zhang San. On February the 3rd, 2016, Jane left Australia to go on a 3-month Pacific cruise to escape all the hype around her book launches, and unfortunately she does not inform anybody what boat she's on or where she'll be for the next 3 months. As we wrap up here, NetPages was about to make Game of Thrones 2 available at 0900 hours on their website on the 5th of Feb. At 4 PM though, right, their IT manager, John Daylight, was advised, that's you, that senior manager said that basically a copy of Game of Thrones 2 was available via BitTorrent, used to whom he knows of from his university days by Ching Sing, using the handle Mistress of Cunning. So the management of NetPages went into meltdown and convened an urgent meeting with yourself and all senior executives. So late in February, Zhang San transferred a copy of Game of Thrones 2 to his sister, utilising a peer-to-peer file sharing application architecture where they shared the files on their computers and indexed on direct servers. And this peer-to-peer sharing technology uses the protocol of BitTorrent. Seeing Zhang dislikes NetPages, they seem to have a monopoly on all the good books, and he thinks it's not fair they're forced to subscribe to them and get the books he loves. So Zhang San wants to disrupt and ruin NetPages' biggest hit, The Game of Thrones 2, and what he believes will be the best book to compromise across the globe via the BitTorrent protocol. Zhang San sees the Hong Kong does not have any precedent that resulted in massive fines or jail, so he decides to take the risk with his sister helping and asks her to distribute the book via the BitTorrent. So Zhang San's uncle, Tommy Zhang, who lives in London, also shares the Game of Thrones 2 via a regular eBay account where people paying $5 US because he's got a gambling problem and he saw an opportunity and he secured 100,000 pre-release orders from customers who paid via PayPal in eBay. Tommy Zhang sourced the prepaid customers from the dark website known as Bookworms, where once trusted you can source any book either for free or at a massive saving if it's a #1 bestseller. So I want you to go through the police referral here. You're going to think about, you are the IT security manager, you've studied cyber law, you're going to package this up and say, well, what are we going to do here? Have we got an offence? Work through it over the next couple of weeks. Keep looking at the scenario here. You know, what offences, relate it back to each week's lessons, and, you know, you'll finally be able to put this together. You've got a review, as you can see here, the Commonwealth Director of Public Prosecution's brief preparation guidelines. I think they're in week 3 or 4, and then either of those 2 weeks you'll find it quite easily, and you'll look and see how would you package up the material, as it is well known police agencies are under-resourced, and the more professional your referral is, the more chance you've got of police taking it on, or you can handle it to a digital agency. I've just put this in for background. This is a true scenario, this part, the bottom bit, with regards to a Hong Kong precedent. So it's just nice for you to know that that's why they're taking the risk, because there wasn't much action taken against the cyber criminal. Read through this a couple of times. I tend to print it out probably and put a highlighter through the key players in the incident. I'd do probably a circles and square chart, circles representing people and maybe squares representing organisations, and do a link chart. And I might have a quick video next week for you to look at in relation to link charting, but I don't want to confuse you too much. But circles and squares of the key players, and I think you'll be underway. It is a long scenario, but it's one I think you can really cut your teeth into and identify without much work per se who the key players are. So I hope you like that part of it. And that basically takes us for week 1, and we're about to, when Guy wraps up, we'll slide across to Blab, and we hope to see you there. Now, I've had about 60 people join me on LinkedIn, which is fantastic. Again, feel free to link up with me. You can, the discussion forums I'll be monitoring intently, and I look forward. Here's the quiz, by the way, guys and girls. It's right here, 5 questions, fairly straightforward, and it just solidifies your knowledge in relation to what we've done. So hopefully we had a lot to cover tonight. We had to go through a bit of pace there to get through it all, but I hope you've gained quite a bit out of it. And again, read the scenario multiple times, and I'll just lock this back down again. So you're reading that there, you're clicking on that. Okay, Guy, would you like just to wrap up?
Yeah, absolutely, Brad. Thanks for that. Just a few things before I do, though. If you could maybe go over how we get across to Blab and some of the requirements to be able to jump on.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. I unfortunately take it for granted that yeah, everyone's aware of Blab. I only found out Blab, it'll tell you, I think 167 days. It says how long I've been on Blab for. When you join up, it prints it on your profile. I've only been on it about 160 odd days in my downtime analysing this new trend. It is becoming big. This should take us to it shortly, and it should be opening up. I can go and open it up in a minute. You just click on the live Q&A Blab here. My name in it is Bradley W. Deacon, so that if it doesn't get through, but you need to go on Google Chrome and you need to have a Twitter account. So don't panic, we're going to record the Blab. So if you haven't got time tonight to set up the Twitter, but we'd love to see a few of you over there just to have a bit of a hello, and we can share the chairs. There's 4 seats, so it'll be myself and Guy, and then we'll have 2 spare seats for people if they want to be on video, or you can ask questions by typing them, and it comes up nice and big on our screen, and we can go through that. So look forward to hopefully a few jumping across to our first ever Blab, and I think it's probably the first one that a university's probably used in the country. So again, it's new technology you can take back to the workplace. It's open source, so anyone can jump in. Just be aware of that. And again, you're not on camera until you jump into the room, so you can still just sit in there, but it is open source and anyone can jump in. So I'm just letting you know, giving you a heads up. So I look forward to seeing you across there now. All right, and 10 minutes, sorry. Just give us 10 minutes to have a drink. Yep.
So it's James here.
Great. Thanks.
Sorry, I'll just butt in quickly to say that, like Brad was saying, it's a bit of an experiment to use Blab for the Q&A here instead of using the GoToWebinar interface. We want everyone to try to come along, but we understand that some people might not be able to make it in for one reason or another. And so we'll just quickly talk about the homework before we do, in case anyone's not able to make it over, if that's all right.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, so just there's homework for this, weekly homework for this short course. As Brad was saying, this cyber scenario, to analyse it and then discuss based on it and post in the forum. And I think, Brad, if you could scroll down just a little bit, it'll show the forum in the learn.itmasters site. We're splitting students up into groups, and they might sound like big groups, but groups of 200. Whereas often when we have these forums on the site, we just have everyone in one forum. We'll be groups of 200. When it's a free short course, means not everyone's going to join in. I expect maybe 20 to 40 people from each group will actually participate. If you can all just sort of work together to come up with the answers and come up with what you're happy with. So scroll down a little, Brad. That's the top discussion forum there. There's a discussion forum in week 1. It's grayed out at the moment.
Oh, week 1, yeah.
So there's one of these forums in each of the weeks.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Beautiful. Yep. Click on that.
Well, it won't show anything just for now, so it won't tell us much. But basically, it'll be opening at 3 p.m. tomorrow, which for people in different time zones, that's in about is it 8 hours or something? No, much more than that. Anyway, sorry, I'm bad at maths. Anyway, just jump in there and discuss things with each other. It is a requirement to get a certificate at the end that you post in each week's forum. Make careful note of that, everyone. You don't have to post all the results yourself. It's like group work. You just have to work together. Just sort of, even if someone's posted all the best, or everything, got it all right, just sort of reply and say, you're on the right track. I love this answer, you know, and ask a question of the person who posted the thread.
That I found on all the courses that I've participated in. I did my master's online at American Military Uni there. We had some people that wanted to write 2,000 words. We thought, oh my God, you know, and they loved it. And we learnt from those people, and then we contributed, you know, as well. And even if it is, wow, I didn't think about that. That's great, John, or that's great, Mary. That's all you have to do. So yeah, just all jump in, and you'll get the hang of it, I think, after the first week or so, and you can always go back and top it up later. So very good.
Great, Brad. Just one last question, not about the blab itself, before we go towards that. Can you just expand on how people will be assigned? Will that just be automatic to their groups?
James handles that, and yeah, it's automatic from my understanding.
Yeah, that's my job, and it's, as you can see there, it's been pushed back, the opening time of the forum, and that's basically because we didn't have our ducks in a row. Sorry about that, everyone. So the forum will be open once we've actually got everyone's groups sorted out. You'll all be automatically assigned into groups.
Beauty. All right. Well, Brad, I might let you go and get ready to start the blab up and just sort of answer any further questions that come up here before we stop the broadcast.
That'd be great. I'll do that.